Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're jumping right into the technical signals of a stock that has been absolutely lighting up the trading screens. TOVX, Theriva Biologics. We're going to break down the really complex story these charts are telling us.
Okay, just look at this number. That's the volume. We're talking about the number of shares that traded hands in a single day. Now, to give you some perspective, its average for the last 3 months is under 6 million. So, this isn't just a little bit of interest. This is a full-on stampede. It's a massive signal that something really significant is going on here.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The last price was sitting around 34.5 cents. That puts it at just over 2.5% of its 52-week range. It's basically bumping along the bottom. So the huge question we're trying to answer today is, why is there this incredible, explosive surge of activity when the stock is at its lowest point of the year?
So, we're going to approach this like a real investigation. First, we'll just lay out the facts on the ground, set the scene before we start digging into the clues.
This is the million-dollar question, right? It's time to put on our detective hats. We're going to start weighing the evidence to see if we can piece together the story behind these wild numbers. All right, first things first. We need to figure out the overall direction. Is the stock's big picture movement heading up, down, or just sideways? We've got to look at the trend. And to get a handle on that trend, we need to talk about moving averages. These are a super fundamental tool for traders. They basically smooth out all the day-to-day price noise so you can see the real underlying path. The main thing you need to remember is this. If the current price is below these averages, it's generally seen as a sign of weakness.
And here is where we get to the absolute heart of the mystery. On one side, you've got the price, which is clearly struggling. It's trading below almost all of its important long-term averages. That's a classic bearish or negative signal. But on the other side, you've got this powerful indicator called the ADX, and it is screaming that whatever trend is in place right now, it is an extremely strong one. See, the ADX measures trend strength, not its direction. That is one fascinating conflict.
Now that we've got that central conflict established, let's dig a little deeper. Let's look at momentum. You can think of this as the speed and the force behind the price moves. Is there any real power in this trend, or is it just running on fumes?
Yeah, so momentum indicators are kind of like the stock's engine room. They tell us if the trend has enough juice to keep going, or if it's getting tired and maybe ready to turn around. Is the engine revving high, or is it about to stall out?
Okay, so our first clue from the engine room, well, it's not looking great for the bulls. The MACD, it's a very popular momentum gauge, is flashing a classic bearish signal. This suggests that all this recent price action is starting to lose its power. And our second clue, it pretty much backs up the first one. The Relative Strength Index, the RSI, is just sitting there in neutral to low territory. It's not in the danger zone, but it's definitely not showing any signs of powerful upward strength. The engine is kind of just idling.
And here's the next twist in our story. This is brilliant. While those other two indicators are showing weak momentum, a third one, called the Stochastic Oscillator, is telling us the stock might be deeply oversold. Now, that can be a contrarian signal. It's kind of like stretching a rubber band too far in one direction. At some point, it might just snap back.
So how do we make sense of all these conflicting signals? We have a strong trend but weak momentum, a potential oversold bounce. To get the full picture, we have to look at the trading environment. And that is defined by two huge factors, that massive volume we talked about and extremely high volatility.
This slide really just lays out the battlefield for us. You've got a huge crowd of traders, which we know from that insane volume. And you have high volatility, which means the price can make massive swings, up or down, very, very quickly. This combination creates a classic high-risk, high-reward scenario, where sudden, sharp reversals are always on the table. All right, let's bring all the clues together. We've examined the trend, we've gauged the momentum, we've looked at the environment. Now it's time to see what the combined analysis from our source material is pointing towards. And here it is, all laid out, side by side. For the bulls, you have that super strong ADX, the massive volume, and high money flow. But for the bears, you have the price struggling below those moving averages, a negative MACD, and a few other signs of weakness. It's a true tug of war.
In any battle, you have to know the key territory. According to the report, these are the lines in the sand. About 17 cents is the critical support level that the bulls absolutely must defend, and about 68 cents is the major resistance level they need to break through. The fight for these levels could very well decide the next big move.
So, what's the game plan? Well, the report kind of boils it down to these three possibilities. The bullish case, It all depends on holding that support and using all that volume to push higher. The bearish case is simpler. If that support breaks, look out below. And the overall strategy? It really just depends on your timeline.
This quote from the report is the perfect summary. It's really the main strategic takeaway. If you're a short-term trader, all this volatility is a huge opportunity, but you have to be incredibly nimble. If you're a long-term investor, the signals are just too mixed up right now. It might be smarter to just wait for the dust to settle.
And that leaves us with the final and most important question of all. You have this incredibly powerful trend indicator clashing with multiple signs of weakening momentum. In a battle between an unstoppable force and a very movable object, which one is going to give out first? The market for TOVX is going to give us that answer very, very soon. Thanks for joining this explainer.